Hey guys, so I've been messing around with Tales of Symphonia some more, and I have a few more little secrets that I thought would be fun to share with everybody. First, I want to talk about Colette's gloves, and I have Karabel Watar on Reddit to thank for compiling a lot of this. In her original concept, she had white gloves, and you can see it in several of the official artworks. However, in the game, she does not wear gloves. And this was likely decided later on because a model of her white gloves is still in the game in one scene. After you defeat the Azalea Ranch, her shoulder gets torn and you can see it's crystallizing. In that cutscene, she has the gloves on. Now this is an error, and it was supposedly fixed on later runs of the GameCube game, so if the existence of the error in your copy likely depends on the production year of your disc. But then the error came back when they released Chronicles, so clearly they made Chronicles on the unfixed original version of Symphonia. Moving on, a couple years ago, I was in a used bookstore downtown, and I found a Japanese version of the Symphonia art book with interviews and all sorts of things, but the best find is that there was a page with some concept art of Lloyd. And so, check this out. He had glasses, he had a cape, his hair totally different. I think he looks pretty cool. A little more, the glasses make him look a little more intellectual. And it looks like they gave kind of the cape concept to Kratos, but yeah, it's probably one of my favorite random things I've run into. I've always found myself really impressed by the backgrounds and the detail and the environments of the game. So when I figured out how to pull textures, that was kind of dangerous, I think. But I found some, I think, interesting stuff in the texture. So I'm going to go through some textures that I've pulled and just talk about them. Here in Lewin, right above that bed is a tapestry, and when I pulled the wall texture, I found a little face behind the tapestry. Check this out. And then over here is a painting by this old man, and when I first saw it, I thought it was a cat. I'm like, oh, how cute, he's looking down the road. And I even tried to do a little pixel art of it, but then I pulled the texture, and it's actually a little ship painting, which, not as cute. Now, in Azalea, in one of the houses that burns down pretty early on in the game, there's a kid's drawing and some papers taped to the wall here, and I pulled the texture and you can see what they are more closely. Their house before it burns down, a picture of their family, they actually have 2 kids, and a grocery list. All I can make out is books and notepad. There's this cute little painting of the Palma Costa School inside the Palma Costa School. Here's a close-up of a lot of the food in the Syback cafeteria. And some of the creatures inside the research rooms. In the inn in Syback, there are pictures of the arches in Utah, and in the inn in Palma Costa, there's some sort of blurred out pictures of Venice, Italy. There's also a picture of Al-Khazna in Petra, Jordan, which is famously used as the Holy Grail Temple in Indiana Jones. In Marble, Chocolat, and Coco's item shop, there is some writing on these plaques that's blurred out, and when I pulled the textures, I can read them. Sort of. The first one is Romaji Japanese, which I can't read, and if someone wants to translate that, that would be amazing. The second one says Allen Iverson, The Answer, Architectural Digest in English. Allen Iverson is an American NBA player who was popular around the time that this game was in production, 2000 to 2003, and his nickname was The Answer. The Architectural Digest is a magazine showcasing architecture and room design, and I have suspicion that they use these magazines as references when they were designing the environments of the game, and it would actually be interesting to get a hold of some of the copies that were in production while this game was being made to see if there's any similarities. In the Syback Research Center, this wall here isn't just the design. If you look close, there's a picture of a fox sleeping, which I'm pretty sure is a reference to Various, the hidden summoned spirit later in the game, who evolves from a summoned spirit they create in the lab. The designer of the Tetheala Bridge signed and dated it on the back. This is a piece of art on the wall in some of the rooms that I secretly hope is a reference to Majora's Mask, though it's a little bit of a stretch. I found another face and a drawing of what looks like a ship behind some more tapestries in the Triette Inn. These are all the paintings in the stack behind Khoton. The design of the stained glass of the Tetheala Church. The full version of the magazine covers in the Syback Library. The inexplicably dragon-themed paintings in a stack in the fortune teller's tent. A better view of what the money looks like in the casino. Lloyd's Silverant wanted poster versus his Tetheala counterpart. In Aisha's house in Asgard, she has some rolled up parchment paper on her shelf, and when you pull the texture, those parchment papers have some art of the NPCs on them, it seems. The texture for the Storyteller Elder has a hidden image of a woman with some writing in red that you can't see on the character when inside the game. So now I want to say a quick word about Zelos, and this comes from an interview back in 2013 with Takumi Miyajima, the story writer of Symphonia. He said, "Everyone thinks that Kratos means the death of Zelos, but in truth, Kratos is Zelos' savior. That is because in the original version, in the original idea, they were going to have Zelos die in every route except if he was the number one affection character. So if he was not in your top 3 by mid-game, he'd die mid-game, and if he wasn't your top by the end of the game, he was going to die at the end of the game. And then someone said, hey, if we're going to have Zelos die, why don't we bring Kratos back for his slot? And it was that idea that made them rewrite the story so that Zelos only died in one of the routes. So when everybody thinks Kratos is the one that kills off Zelos, no, Kratos coming back was actually what saved Zelos in 8 of the 9 routes in the end. Now, finally, the last thing I wanted to talk about today. So while I'm mostly focusing on the GameCube version of the game when I'm jumping in and looking for secrets, I have been talking to some friends I've made named Matthew and Aleem who have been deconstructing the Steam version of the game, and they have found some very interesting stuff. I believe they're planning to make their own series, so I don't want to say too much so that I don't, keep you guys in suspense for their content when it comes up. But something cool was that Noishe is considered a playable character, and he even has a moveset. So we're not really sure if that meant that he was originally planned to have a bigger role, or if that was just an easy technique to program him to be controllable. But I thought it was super, super cool when they sent that to me that they'd found it. So whenever they make their thing, I'll post a link. And yeah, so that's all I have for today, and have a good one out there.